Hello and welcome to Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as yours, but hey, it's something. Now, as you can see, this is 199, and as you can see, we got 691 here. I'm trying to make it so that there are two different hundreds that we're celebrating. Increase this by 9, and we're gonna increase the other one by 1. Hopefully, things will happen. But anyways, let's get right into the news. First, here's an interesting thing. Peru Congress votes to begin impeachment of Castillo at second attempt. Peru's Congress on Monday approved the start of impeachment proceedings against President Pedro Castillo over allegations of corruption after failing to gather enough votes in a previous attempt in December. This is going to be a problem. I mean, it's not even necessarily like a problem for me. It kind of is a problem for me, but essentially the only thing that this is really a big problem for is Castillo. Because, unfortunately, it looks like this is kind of going to be the entirety of his presidency. He's going to be facing a lot of people pushing against him, and he's not even really going to be able to accomplish any goals. You've seen this happen before. He's had multiple cabinets. This is his second impeachment attempt. So as you can see, Castillo isn't necessarily going to be able to live up to the expectations that he was setting out. And I was basically one of the people that was like, I don't know if Castillo's going to be good or not. I'll wait to see if he can be better. Because I was actually trying to hope for Castillo to be a better president. Maybe I was wrong about all the anti-gay stuff that he said during the campaign, and maybe he would improve. But it turns out we're not even really going to be able to see that happen. So anyways, there's not much else I could say except sucks for Castillo. Hopefully this doesn't lead to this will probably lead to just a further right-wing president if he does get impeached. So that's unfortunate for Peru. But at least other Latin American countries are doing better. The pink ties still go strong, even if one doesn't necessarily live up to the expectations, and it's not even Castillo's fault. So anyway, speaking of foreign affairs, back to Russia again. Well, there are two major developments in the Russia-Ukraine thing. Zelensky has officially given a concession to Putin. He has conceded that Ukraine is unlikely to join NATO and seek security guarantees. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday admitted that Ukraine is unlikely to join NATO, the Western security alliance that Russian President Vladimir Putin has demanded Ukraine never join, as he made a call for increased security commitments from the West. And just before the UK's Joint Expeditionary Force, Zelensky said Ukraine was still seeking security guarantees short of joining NATO. The Ukrainian president said that it was clear that Ukraine was not a member of NATO, the Washington Post reported. For years we heard about the apparently open door, but I've also heard that we will not enter there, and they are the truths that must be acknowledged. Basically, this is, and here's the thing, this isn't even an actual concession, because, as far as I remember, that was not on the table. Ukraine joining NATO was not on the table. It was just a fact that Putin made up in order to push for, technically, Putin can withdraw right now. Putin can withdraw right now because he's technically gotten a concession. Essentially, this really is just a visual or a symbolic concession. Zelensky, as we can see, is still arguing for security guarantees. I think they stated point blank that he wanted a no-fly zone, but of course, that's not going to happen. And they're still calling for people to, he's still saying that they want a ceasefire, but here's the thing, we don't know how the situation is going to pan out, but as far as we know, this is a very likely thing. Ukraine unlikely to join NATO. So here's the thing, hopefully we can see the tankies shut up about this, because this is the thing that they were saying, we're just trying to make sure that this NATO thing isn't a thing. So, we'll have to wait and see how the world reacts. Speaking of another reaction, the House passes a bill to suspend normal trade relations with Russia. This isn't sanctions, but it turns out that the United States voted 424 to 8 to ban trade with Russia and Belarus. Basically, the way U.S. trade works now is that they basically give every single country a certain privilege. They're basically saying, like, oh, you guys are like the really cool countries that we really like. But in fact, really, this is a thing that's given to basically every country with very limited exceptions. The only exceptions up until this point were Cuba and North Korea. But now we can add Russia and Belarus to this. And many people were saying this is a bad thing. Because, of course, people say this is a bad thing. Because the 8 people who voted against it were Republicans: Andy Biggs of Arizona, Dan Bishop of North Carolina, Lauren Boebert, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Glenn Grotham, and Thomas Massie and Chip Roy. But here's the thing. These guys voting against it is that's not a good thing. People are saying, like, you see, these guys are actually standing up for the right decision. Like, this isn't the right decision, though. And there's a reason why this isn't the right decision. Because, I don't know if it says in this article, if this was in a different article that I read on the thing. But they actually, there's a reason why, and other people are already trying to bring it up, like, oh, why does Ilhan Omar vote for this and not the sanctions? Because unlike the sanctions, this one actually has a limit. This trade embargo, or whatever it is, this trade halt, is essentially going to stay around at least until January of 2024. Because I think it's 2024. January of 2024 or January of 2023. Because either by then the situation will have resolved itself, or the situation will be extended. The situation will have either resolved itself and they'll have either reopened trade, or they'll keep the trade embargo on as a punishment. But as we can see, we're basically doing what we did to Chile. We're trying to make the Russian economy scream. And this is the thing. I'm not like a sanctions guy. I'm not like a trade embargo guy. I'm not like I am a trade embargo guy. I'm a protectionist in regards to trade. But essentially, there is nothing else the U.S. can do outside of full-on war. And many people keep saying, oh, the U.S. can just do nothing. But it's the U.S. can't do nothing at this point. Especially considering Putin, he's directing all of his attention to the United States. He's saying, U.S., don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't do anything, bro. Don't do anything. He's egging the United States on to do something. And them doing this is better than them sending, drones or them sending troops. This is essentially all the U.S. can do in a safe way that will harm the least amount of people. Because hopefully, the Russian economy would be hurt in the immediate term, and then Russia will pull back, fix their economy, and then we can focus on rebuilding. But anyways, there's not much else I could say, but Russia stinks, and I'm against the war. Speaking of bills, here's a bill that passed. U.S. Senate approves bill to make daylight savings time permanent. I'm down. The U.S. Senate on Tuesday passed the legislation that would make daylight savings time permanent starting in 2023, ending the twice-annual changing of the clocks, in a move promoted by supporters of advocating brighter afternoons and more economic activity. The Senate approved the measure, called the Sunshine Protection Act, unanimously by voice vote. This is one of the big things that many people were raising their eyebrows about. This passed unanimously. But honestly, I think at this point a lot of people overestimate certain things. Many people were expecting a Mitch McConnell or somebody to vote against it in the sake of tradition. And many people are saying that this might just be because they want the workday to visually be longer, because there's more daylight, so that might mean people would work later. But at the end of the day, most people realize at this point that daylight savings is pointless. It was useful back in the day when most of the U.S. economy was passed by like agrarian measures. But now we don't have that anymore. We're now a mostly industrialized nation. In fact, we're post-industrialist, kind of. So, yeah. This is a good thing that the U.S. Senate did, and hopefully the House passes it as well. Speaking of the House and passing, very dark segue. Alaska Representative Don Young dies at 88. Now, here's the thing. Majority of you don't know, or you might know but not care. Let me explain who Don Young is. Don Young was the Dean of the House of Representatives, meaning he was the member of the House of Representatives that has been in office the longest. He was elected in the early 70s, I think. And he's continually stayed in the House of Representatives since then. And he was a Republican. Yeah, see right here. Young served in Congress since 1973. So, if he had died next year, it would have been, 70, 80 is 10, 90 is, like 40 years, I think. No. 50, I think. Dang it. 49 years, there it is. Right there. I'm stupid. Well, I mean, I'm not stupid. But basically, the thing is about Don Young is actually, of course, you all probably won't like him, because I think a majority of I should probably do a poll just based on, my audience, just, where does my audience lean politically? I should probably do that at one point, but essentially, Don Young, he is a moderate Republican. Don Young, let me see, it says right down here that he was the one who introduced Deb Haaland to be Biden's Interior Secretary. Let me see. Here's John Boner, a Republican former House Speaker, once said Young held a knife to his throat. Mostly true, Young acknowledged when Boner agreed to be the best man at Young's wedding. The thing is, Young has basically stayed in office for a while and basically kept a consistent weird brand of brashness but also soft-spokenness, because a lot of members of the House, the ones I follow, a lot of at least the older ones, were being really nice about Don Young passing, because the dude apparently really liked working across the aisle to get things done, which for a Republican is a good thing. He was even so prominent that a Democrat representative ran for Senate and then touted his endorsement. And not just that, she did it in a really interesting campaign ad that I'm going to probably add as an honorable mention to a future video. Take a watch.
Aloha, I'm Maisie Hirono, and I'm a Democrat.
I'm Don Young of Alaska, and I'm a Republican.
Yes, you certainly are, Don.
Well, but while Maisie and I don't see eye to eye on everything, we've done something too many people in Washington refuse to cross the aisle and do. We've worked together.
When vital Native Hawaiian and Native Alaskan education programs were at risk in Congress,
Maisie and I got together and put our partisan differences aside and solved this problem for our people at home.
and once Don and I joined together as Republican and Democrat, I had to battle my own party leadership to get our amendment passed.
It's true. I watched Maisie do it, and let me tell you, that Nancy Pelosi is one stubborn...
Don, what have I told you?
I will say anything else. But here's what's important, Hawaii. If you're looking for a United States senator who...
that ad actually was interesting. They touted good things that he and her worked on that would help her. She's in Hawaii, and Hawaii and Alaska have large native populations, so of course they tout the fact that they had a pretty prominent native population bills that were in Congress. But also somehow Maisie Hirono managed to this is her ad. She got to choose that. She got to choose him saying, like basically almost saying that Nancy Pelosi's a stubborn bitch. Like she put that in the ad. I think it's just hilarious. So anyways, Don Young, now like everybody else does, so we might not have agreed on everything, but you seem to be alright for a Republican at least a Republican in the modern day. Speaking of alright, here's someone who's a little bit more than alright. Okay, so apparently, Sanders alumni are quietly pushing Khanna to run for president in 2024 if Joe Biden does not seek re-election. There is my boy Chuy Garcia right there. But basically, here's how, this is basically a big thing that happened, and I mean, the reason why this story was leaked is so we could be talking about it. But it says right here, top figures from the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign are privately encouraging Khanna to run for president in 2024 if Joe Biden doesn't seek a second term, giving the California congressman an important stamp of approval for progressives as the party looks to its post-Biden future. Now, this is a good thing. Now, here's the thing. On the surface, yes, I'm 100% in favor of a Khanna 2024 bid. If Khanna ran for president, I would 100% support him. He's probably one of the best members of Congress. Like, he's probably one of the best members of Congress that isn't an explicit socialist. Like, I mean, not even just in, like recently, but, like, I mean in history. I mean, I did a top 50 House Representatives, not top 60, and Roe made it in, like, the top 5, I think. I think he was in the top 5. I think he was number 5. And then it was, like Vito Marcantonio, Dennis Kucinich, and, like, Meyer London. And maybe someone else. I don't remember who else. But Roe would be a great choice to run for president, in my opinion. I've been seeing a lot of people say, like, oh, we shouldn't have Roe run for president because Roe is a little too soft-spoken. It's like, okay, that's fair, but you might actually want that. Like, I mean, Roe could technically tout working across the aisle to get things done. Granted, the people that he might tout with that approval might not necessarily be the best ones to do now, because originally one of his big things was like, I used to work with a pro-Trumper named Matt Gaetz. Now you can't necessarily run on being like an ally with Matt Gaetz on anything, because you don't want to be considered the ally of a map. That's, well, I mean, not even a map, just dirty pedophile. But, like, Khanna would be a great choice. And Khanna's shown, like, I mean, I think, honestly, above and beyond, Khanna has proven himself, like, tenfold. He endorsed the Bernie 2020 bid. He endorsed the Bernie 2016 bid. Like, I mean, he worked on the Bernie 2020 bid. He ran progressive candidacies, like, 3 times. He was able to harness, like, even though the establishment tried to scoop him up and then, like, breed him to be, like, their new figurehead, Khanna then took that momentum and then translated it into pushing for progressive reforms. He was the first Justice Dem. Well, not the second Justice Dem, I think. The first incumbent Justice Dem. Cory Bush still holds the title of first Justice Dem. And Khanna has done a lot of good things. He's even stood on ground that people wouldn't stand on. Like, I mean, he's been one of the leading people to, like, try and stop SESTA and FOSTA because he realizes this is a stupid idea. Granted, Khanna has, like, downsides. I'll give him that. Like, I mean, a lot of people say he's soft-spoken. He's definitely in, like, the Silicon Valley-esque mindset. So his wife owns a lot of stocks that he definitely should probably sell. I mean, she should sell. But, like, Khanna definitely should be pressuring her to sell them. But essentially, like, I think Roe's a great congressman. I think Roe would be an amazing presidential candidate. Granted, I think a lot of people would be great presidential candidates, in my opinion. But here's the thing. There are quite a number of things that are sort of preventing this from happening. Now, first, we're going to have to address a little bit of an elephant in the room. Who of the Bernie camp is pushing for a Khanna 2020 bid? Well, 2024 bid. Well, the biggest one is Jeff Weaver. Now, here's the thing. That's both a good thing and a bad thing. You see, Jeff Weaver has been a member of the Bernie camp for a long time. Like, he's literally been one of Bernie's closest allies politically for his entire tenure in public office. Now, that's a good thing. This guy was managed to turn Bernie into a household name. But Weaver is definitely not of the branch of the Bernie movement that a lot of people are that enthused over. Like, during the 2016 bid, Weaver was the one who was publicly touting Bernie endorsing Hillary. In the 2020 bid, he, pushed for something called, Progressives for Biden. And I think he was one of the ones who was trying to push for, the pragmatic progressives line that people, see, they're trying to turn themselves into a less progressive group, which really was just, literally namesake difference that didn't change much. But also, a lot of people said, Weaver is also kind of the reason that Bernie has a quote-unquote problem with black people. Because one person, Jamal Green, I'll call him that. He was a Chicago Bernie camp person who basically told Weaver and a bunch of other people, hey, what we should do is we should put a lot of money into the race. We should put a lot of money into TV ads in, rural South areas, because that has high black populations. Or something along those lines. Basically, he wanted to put a lot of money into black populated areas. And Weaver basically said no. Weaver shut down the idea, and since Weaver is such a close ally to Bernie basically just says, I guess I gotta trust him. So, maybe the people pushing Roe 2024 are definitely, there's definitely worries about that. Second problem, he might not run. In the article, he point blank states that he thinks, people say that Roe's a good candidate. Let me see. He says point blank, I'm not running in 2024. He says that's a lie. I think, he says, and the reason why he says that is he says he fully expects Biden to run and he supports him. If for some reason he didn't, that would be disappointing. But there are a number of other candidates who I think could, basically he's saying that he's not running because he expects Biden to run, and if he doesn't, he expects there to be better candidates. And that's basically the third reason that I didn't realize was part of reason number 2. Khanna is basically, that was the reason I was saying the whole time. I'm stupid. He doesn't think that it would be a right time. Either Biden will run, and he won't be a viable chance. And 2, if Biden doesn't run, then there will be another candidate in the field. There'll be an AOC, there'll be a Nina, there'll be someone else. Someone else will be there for Roe to endorse. A lot of people are still even pushing for war in 2024. And that's the big thing. People are stuck. They don't know who to support in 2024. They don't know if there will be a Bernie vanguard. There's even a conspiracy theory that I remember. I think I heard it or I made it up. But either way, there was a conspiracy theory that Bernie would be the Bernie of 2024, and he would drop out of the Senate and then run a Don Quixote-style 2024 bid. Basically, this is my make it or break it. But the third reason why Roe probably won't run is because I think, if I remember correctly, 2024 is when Dianne Feinstein's seat is up for grabs. So there's a good chance that he's going to run for that seat, even if Feinstein runs for re-election for some reason. Because he publicly endorsed Kevin De Leon against Dianne Feinstein, so he's definitely open to the idea of running against Feinstein, or just flat out trying to run for the seat himself. And even going on in the article, they state that there would be a good chance for him to run in that seat. Somewhere in here. I don't know. But basically, we're still looking. For those who are worried about 2024, I have names, but the thing is, I make it a public knowledge thing. I refuse to say the names. I refuse to say the names of people who should be on the lookout for 2024. I know names, and if you're paying attention, you know the names too. But at the end of the day, we got 2022 to worry about. We got John K. Fetterman to run for Senate. We got Mandela Barnes to run for Senate. We got Lucas Coons, who could actually win in Missouri. we have these very big Senate races that are coming up and House races. Greg Castillo, get him elected. Jessica Cisneros, get her elected. Summer Lee. Freaking Delia Ramirez. We got a ton of people we can get elected right now. Focus on that rather than focusing on a bid that won't happen until 2024. We're still a couple years away before that happens. So maybe focus on that instead of focus on the races that are actually going to have an impact. Speaking of having an impact, terrible transition because this has no impact at all. We're going to be taking the Ideosorter. Now here's the thing. This person, Ghost of Inky, who's the person who made this quiz, I'm actually going to be doing... Well, actually, this is a terrible thing. But I'm going to be doing basically a ton of their quizzes. I basically have a bunch of their quizzes ready and up for grabs. I think I have four, the liberation values. That's ones I'm going to do in the future. But basically I chose this one first. I spun a wheel and then decided this would be the one that I do first. Because I thought this one would be interesting. And then the liberation values was also interesting. And there was another one, 4 values? 4 orbs? Yeah, that's it. 4 orbs that they also made that I'm interested in. I see random quizzes and I'm like, I must take them. So, here we go. The Ideosorter. What is the Ideosorter? Ideosorter is, in essence, a political quiz that attempts to assign an ideology that matches your views to the closest by asking questions of you based on a flowchart model. This test will sort you into one of 57 different ideologies based on your answers to these questions. Maybe you'll discover something you didn't know about yourself. I don't understand one of the questions. If there's anything you don't understand, we've tried to make any terminology easily to look up. If it's still not clear, tell us so we can make some changes to the ideology. I don't like my matched ideology. Shrug. Yeah, that's basically how all these quizzes are. I don't care if this quiz says that I'm like a Marxist or whatever. I don't care. That's how this quiz is. The quiz tells you an ideology, and this is just for a little bit of fun. Who cares? So anyways, let's get started. Should private property exist? Already starting off with the hard ones. Now, on one end, I do understand, basically, look at me, I live in America, so the idea of private property is basically just ingrained into your mind. There are things that you own and that no one else can own. But I also understand things like land reform, and, all this stuff, and this is one of those quizzes that obviously you can't choose I can't decide, so I have to choose one or the other. This is a very difficult question. I really wish they saved this one for later, so I can actually think that I'm doing something first. I'm going to say, on a limited level, yes. There are some things that you own and that no one else can own. Or maybe, let's do a quick Google search for the specific definition of private property. Because this time I'm actually going to do this way. Why won't you let me click it? No. What are you doing? I'm not doing feedback. I'm trying to click the Wikipedia article. Private property is a legal distinction of the owner of property by non-governmental entities. Private property is distinguishable from public property, which is owned by a state or entity, and from collective property, which is owned by a group of non-governmental activities. Let's check the specific definition of property. At the end of the day, probably at a limited level, yeah. Should society be run by intermediaries to a deity? No. Should private property be also made as widely owned as possible? Yeah, if they mean something like your private phone is owned, I'm trying to say because this is a difficult one. If you're thinking of land, they're saying that it should be accessible to everybody, but are they saying just an individual thing that everybody seems to own? On the surface, yeah, I would say that that kind of stuff should be made widely available. What? Distributism is a third way, free market center ideology. Wait, that's it? That is literally it? I can't just end it on that. Which one should I do? Liberation values are 4 orbs. Screw it, we're doing liberation values. That was a terrible quiz, honestly. All things considered, that was a terrible quiz. Like, what? Let's just move on. Let's do this one. The worker should own the means of production. Agree. A stronger state will only subjugate socialism. Thus, state socialism is an oxymoron. A stronger state will only subjugate socialism. Thus, state socialism is an oxymoron. Partially agree, kind of. Yeah. Or no, agree. I would rather ally with Rothbard than Stalin. Murray Rothbard or Joseph Stalin? I get what they're trying to say. They're trying to do like the whole, should it be libertarian unity or left-wing unity? But here's the thing. I don't necessarily agree with the idea of aligning with Stalin because Stalin's just Stalin. So I'm just going to put neutral on sure. Co-ops are a good way to gradually move into socialism. Yeah, strongly agree. A welfare state only pacifies the workers, which ends the labor movement. No, not necessarily, no. I think that at the end of the day, they should be, like, this kind of stuff should be pushed to the forefront. Since anarcho-capitalists and the like believe in voluntary association, there's no reason why we shouldn't take arms with them. No. I disagree. I strongly disagree because I'm pacifist. All hierarchies must be questioned. Yeah, to a degree, yeah. You know, there's certain hierarchies that, of course, let me know, at the end of the day, things should be questioned. Like, even if, like, I mean, I was going to use, like, science as an example, but it's like, no, you question science. And not in the anti-vax way. I mean, like, scientists will go on to question other scientists. Direct action and the like only hurt our movement. No. Direct action's alright. We must support revolutionary movements abroad. I mean, but what, revolutionary to what? Like, I mean, revolutionary to my goals or to their goals? No, I think we should be mostly focused on, like, helping the people of our nation and also helping people of other nations in non-violent ways. Reform doesn't work towards change. Strongly disagree. Reform is a viable way to enact change. The pink tide, prominent example. We should use direct action, sabotage, and even violence. This is where you lose me. Violence. But since you put the other ones, I'm gonna have to put either this or this. Let's see. Direct action. No, sabotage. I'm not an Among Us. You cannot be a socialist without striving towards social progress. Yes. You cannot be a socialist without striving towards social progress. Socialism is the best system that protects traditional values. No. Traditional values are... Socialism and traditional values do not mix. Because tradition is capitalism. Socialism will eventually develop into communism. Neutral or unsure. That's really not a thing that's like a given, but it's a thing that can happen. Even if a meme, the ideas of fully automated luxury gay space communism would be ideal. I mean, yeah. The idea of like a society where we can help people and be gay is not necessarily a bad one. The concept of national liberation is a good concept as we must protect our nations from foreign capital. The concept of national liberation is a good concept as we must protect our nations from foreign capital. I mean, yeah. A genuine free wait, hold on, let me read that again. The concept of national liberation is a good concept as we must protect our nation from foreign capital. Yeah, I mean, wait, hold on. Just for the sake of clarity, so that we don't have any misunderstandings, to take political, social. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, a genuine free market is only available through a socialist network. No. That's just, like, I mean, that's, no. The ideas of workers' self-management is the idea we should strive for to liberate every worker. Yeah. No, wait. Maybe I'll just agree on that one. Rapid changes only results in worse outcomes. Case by case, but I'm going to put partially disagree. Because I think this is implying something about, like, you know, pushing for, like, bigger reforms, or pushing for, like bigger ideas. Companies will never collaborate to help the environment, hence they should be collectivized or nationalized. Yep. No government, if there is one, should bail out corporate power. Yep. Corporate lobbying should be banned. Yep. I'd rather live in a neoliberal society than a communist one. Which neoliberal society and which communist one? Because, again, case by case. Like, would I choose to live in Pinochet versus Fidel? Or would I choose to live under Stalin versus Miguel de la Huerta? Like, who? Would I choose to live under Reagan versus freaking Pol Pot? Neutral or unsure. Nationalization is equally as bad as privatization. No. Nationalization ain't bad at all. Communes or similar should be allowed to act as gated communities for certain cultures. Free markets are more efficient than in resource allocation. Disagree. No, wait. Strongly disagree. A free market is more ideal than a fully planned economy. I'm going to put just disagree because... Yeah, I'm going to put only put disagree because fully planned is definitely a bit much. But a free market is definitely a bit much as well. Achieving socialism through electoralism means is ideal. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that is the only method that you have to enact these kinds of changes. Revolutionary times is over, my friend. Unfortunately, the gay Marxist revolution is not going to happen. Reforming capitalist society to achieve basic rights of workers is a desirable and realistic goal. Yeah. I'm going to put agree. Negative consequences of a revolution, such as devastation of land and death tolls, generally outweigh whatever positives. Yeah. Any violence against undesirable people is acceptable as long as it helps the revolutionary motion. No. I know what this is kind of saying. This is basically saying it's okay to kill, like, gay people or black people in order to, like, push for communism or whatever. Revolution is the most successful and ideal way of achieving a progressive society. I'm going to put partially, no. I'm just going to put disagree. Because revolutions don't necessarily lead to better societies. I mean, the French Revolution, things didn't turn out so well. Marx's concept of from each according to their ability to each according to their needs is a good principle we should abide to, 100%. Liberal democracy is a viable way to achieve a social society. Pink tide, yes. A society should rather gradually progress into a social society. Agree or partially agree depending on how gradually. Rather gradually? Does that mean like gradually faster? So maybe agree. A planned economy based on around computers like cybersyn is a concept worth investigating. I don't know what cybersyn is. Oh wait, no. I was about to say bad, but it turns out this is from Allende. Aimed at constructing and distributing decision support system to aid the management of the national economy. The project consists of 4 modules in economic simulator. I don't know. That sounds like a good idea on paper. And yeah, it is a concept worth investigating in. An economy is generally designed better when it is organized bottom up from top down. Yeah. A world socialist republic is a realistic and desirable goal. Disagree. It's not a realistic goal. It might be quote unquote desirable, but it's not realistic. Nationalism and patriotism are reactionary impulses that are unacceptable in a social society. You see, this is where you'd agree with that. But this, I mean, on July 4th, I plan to do an episode where I talk about like patriotic socialism or whatever the heck people want to call it, or like the anti-patriotic left, or basically a mix of all those kinds of things, basically to answer questions about it. But it's like neutral or unsure, because I can't really say anything on it at the moment. Foreign officials, especially socialist or progressive officials, have no right to dictate policy in another country. But yeah. The global socialist movement is too wide and diverse to be led by a single party organization. Yeah. Wait. Maybe agree on the idea of a party. Maybe, Progressive International and Socialist International are things. And, you got the... What's the thing? The one that Hugo Chavez has. Hey, let me hear that again. Global socialist movement is too wide and diverse. Yep. Trade unions or workers' councils should form the basis of a social society. Yeah. Minority populations have the right to receive special legal protections and rights. Let me see. Yeah. People from similar cultures like the Kurds have the right to unite into autonomous federations or confederations. Neutral or unsure. I mean, white people in America had the same idea and it didn't turn out so well. So there definitely have to be a lot of ifs, ands, and buts in regards to how this society would work. But I don't necessarily see too much of a problem with it. Minority populations have the right to self-defense and to bear arms. Doesn't matter the situation. Yeah. The slight degree is, the partially agree is because of, I believe it's stricter gun controls. But, of course, they should still have the right to bear arms. The right to bear arms is essential to the socialist movement, and any restriction of it should be fought against, even by violent means. No. Strongly disagree. No, wait. Maybe I'll just put a just normal disagree. I'd be happier if modern-day America preserved its original ideals of individual liberty and freedom. It depends on what you mean by this, because some of this is right-leaning talk, libertarian talk. So, maybe yes, maybe no. Neutral, unsure. If I lived in an anarcho-capitalist society, I'd rather contribute to increase cooperative power. Yeah. The free market distributes resources between different parties, workers, management, in an unfair manner, favoring capitalist corporations. Yeah. Any market system will inevitably allow harmful monopolies for the consumers to form and take over. Partially agree. Because, I know that there's some people who say, you can still push for market socialism. That's a thing that can still happen. But there's still some people who definitely Like, I mean, there could still be issues in regards to how the market would play out. Since the libertarian rightists are essentially followers of the bourgeois capitalism, there is no logical reason why I should align with such pigs. I'm going to have to partially disagree, but only because libertarian rightists are anti-war, or at least on paper anti-war. And they're for drug legalization, and they're for gay rights. On the social issues, align with them 100%. But on other stuff, you gotta go. An ANCAP society is either taken over by cooperative systems or reformed into corporatic state. Both ends are essentially not ideal. Cooperative systems? Is this like... I'm going to put neutral on sure because I don't know. Even if an ANCAP area would form into a corporate dictatorship, we could still bear arms and fight since the dictator has a weak fist. Wouldn't he have a lot of power because he has like a lot of money and stuff? So I'm gonna have to put, again, neutral, not sure, I don't know. Socialism is a gradual process, not a rapid one. Yeah, 100%. A minarchist society is preferable over complete anarchy. I mean, yeah, but it still sucks. The state will eventually wither away, leading to the people into forming a communist society. I don't think that's just how things plan out. Communism is too utopian and unrealistic. It is better to stop at socialism. As of now, strongly agree. A centrally planned economy is needed to develop third world countries. Partially agree, but maybe neutral, unsure. I don't know. A highly centralized economy is not state socialism, but rather corporatism, as the workers don't even directly own the means of production. Yeah, if it's super highly centralized, then yeah. A mutual aid-based society is significantly better than a transitional socialist state. I mean, no, a socialist state would be better than just mutual aid-based. So, disagree. Under no pretext, what the fuck is this question? Under no pretext? What am I supposed to say to that? Under no pretext, international corporations are a good way to spread our values? No. Capitalism corrupts culture. I'm going to say partially disagree because the United States has a pretty decent culture, despite the fact that we're capitalists to the core. Okay. Liberation values results. Democratic socialism. Generalist. More decentral. Balanced. Very progressive. Reformism. Nationalist. Libertarian socialism. We got libertarian socialism again, everybody. I mean, that's really pretty expected. Honestly, what the heck was this quiz? What the heck was Ideosorter? That was the worst quiz. That was literally worse than like the freaking joke one, where it's like the communist thing. Where it's like, do you think that money should be used to help poor people? And it's like, you're an evil, dirty communist. That was a terrible quiz. The liberation values quiz was way better. Anyways. Should I just take this quiz too? Heads, tails, I do the quiz. No, dang it, this is a Bitcoin site. Heads, tails, I do the quiz. Heads, I do the quiz, tails, I don't. Okay, I do 4 orbs quiz. I guess I'll do new values. Private property should be defended. Disagree. The right of peaceful protest shall never be infringed upon. Strongly agree. The freer the markets, the freer the people. No. Welfare should be cut or completely abolished to cut government spending. Welfare should be cut or completely abolished. No. Money should be abolished. Neutral. I mean, I don't know. Tariffs on international trade are important to encourage local production. Strongly agree. Wait. Was that strongly agree? Yes. Rent should be abolished. Agree. It would be best if our social programs were abolished in favor of private charity. Strongly disagree. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. Agree. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. No. Basic utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Yeah. Government intervention should be initiated rarely, if ever. Disagree. Those with greater ability to pay should receive better healthcare. No. Materialism is a poison in society. Yeah. The means of production should belong to the workers who use them. The United Nations is a positive for the world. Agree or neutral? Neutral. Nations are simply social constructs that distract us from real issues. Neutral. Individualism is inferior to collectivism or communitarianism. Yes. International groups do not have the right to intervene against independent nations. Yes. We should strive to a more global world past national boundaries. Kind of. I support international military alliances such as CSTO, NATO, etc. Neutral. No, you know what? I'm going to put disagree only because of No, I'll stick to neutral. Because it's definitely a mixed bag. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. No. Wars absolutely need to be justified. Wars shouldn't have it at all. State-sponsored media is preferable to independent or corporate media. No. My nation should be free to decide its own future. Yes. Every opinion is equal and should be looked upon as such by society. Yes. No, just straight up strongly agree, yes. Regional unions such as the European Union are desirable. I'd be down. Autocracy. I don't know what this is. Economic independence or self-sufficiency. It's embraced by a wide range of political ideas, especially left-wing ideologies such as African socialism, mutualism, and war communism. Leftist populism. I'm going to have to put neutral. Some parts of tradition should be abandoned. Yes. Religious revival is necessary to society. No. Pornography gives a negative effect to society. No. The police is a group of bandits that are only there to protect the status quo. Yes. We should focus on rehabilitation instead of punishment in our jail system. Yes. The French Revolution was more of a negative for our world than anything. Well, not than anything. I mean, there are things in history that have been worse than the French Revolution. So I'm going to have to say neutral. No, you know what? Disagree. The state should be as small as possible. No. Government surveillance is a necessary evil. No. No, you know what? Disagree. The state should be abolished in favor of anarchism. No. There's no such thing as a victimless crime. All crimes have victims, including drug use. No. Freedom of speech in regards to the law is a human right. Yes. A hierarchical state is best. Disagree. We should return to tradition without modern convenience. No. If well compensated, eminent domain, the taking of property is acceptable. Yeah. Political diversity, multi-party system should be removed and opposed. No. We need to establish an aristocratic style of government. No. Degeneracy is a real problem that we shouldn't take lightly. No. Urban society is inferior to all others. No. We need to accelerate technological growth. Yes. The practice of animal testing should be banned. Yes. Women need to reject traditionalism as an abusive policy. Yes. Either the state or the community should have regulations to protect the environment. Yes. Opposition to my system isn't acceptable. No. There's no such thing as equality in the world. No. It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. No. I see no nationality, race, religion, or other. I see fellow human beings. Agree. Cultures always change. Focusing too much on them should be avoided. Yeah. Drug use should be looked down upon in our society. No. Same-sex marriage should be defended. Yes. We must protect trans individuals from discrimination. Yes. Sex outside of marriage is sinful. No. If we accept migrants at all, it is important that they assimilate into our culture. No. Abortion is a disgusting act that is similar to murder. No. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a valid reason. Yeah. I desire a public form of healthcare either provided by the state or the community. Yes. Prostitution is a deplorable act. No. Maintaining family values is essential. No. Whistleblowers should be prosecuted. No. Transhumanism is a valid goal. Yeah. Sure. Immigration is a net positive. Yes. While I care about human life outside of my country, the priority of the government should be our own people. Yeah, kind of. Tolerance isn't something we should strive for in society as it creates a weak nation. Disagree. Homogeneity? Disagree. Everybody's different. I wish to see massive wealth redistribution. Yes. Marriage is an important part of our society as should be offended. Look, if people want to get married, they can get married. If they don't, they don't. But it's not as important as people think it is. There are people who live out of wedlock for their entire lives and they're happy. Disagree. Space exploration should be a priority for us. Yeah. Wrongful behaviors, I only put agree, a little bit agree, just because it's focus on fixing our world before we start exploring others. Space, treat it like this. It's treat it like a kid and their parent. You only get to go to Disney World if you clean your room. We only get to go to space if we keep the Earth alive. Wrongful behaviors of companies are caused by governmental regulations. No. The patriarchy isn't just real but should be removed. Yeah. The classification of men and women are social constructs. Yeah. Vaccination should be voluntary. At this point, no. Class is meaningless and is only a term abused by the radical left. No. If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear. No. Race is a social construct. Yes. The 4 orbs results. Communist, peaceful, liberal, progressive. Alright. You know what, since we're here, might as well do one more. We did the new values, now let's look at the 8 values. Oppression by corporatism is more of a concern than oppression by governments. No. It's not more of a concern, they're both equal concerns. It is necessary for the government to intervene in the economy to protect consumers. Yes. The free of the market is the free of the people. No. It is better to maintain a balanced budget than to ensure welfare to all citizens. No. Publicly funded research is more beneficial to people than leaving it to the market. Yes. Tariffs on international trade are important to encourage local production. Yes. From each according to his ability to each according to his needs. Yes. It would be best if social programs were abolished for private charity. No. Taxes should be increased on the rich to provide for the poor. Yes. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. Inheritance is a legitimate form of wealth. No. Basic utilities like roads and electricity should be publicly owned. Yes. Government intervention is a threat to the economy. No. Those with greater ability to pay should receive better healthcare. No. Quality education is the right of all people. Yes. The means of protection should belong to the workers who use them. Yes. Annihilation should be abolished. No. Military action by our nation is often necessary to protect it. No. I support regional unions such as the EU. Sure. It is important to maintain our national sovereignty. Yeah, kind of. A united world government would be beneficial to mankind. Neutral, unsure. It It is important to retain peaceful relations than to further our strength. Yeah. Wars do not need to be justified to other countries. No. Military spending is a waste of money. Yeah. International aid is a waste of money. Nah. My nation is great. Only on 25. Neutral. Research should be conducted on an international scale. Yeah. Governments should be accountable to the international community. Yeah. Even when protesting an authoritarian government, violence is not acceptable. I don't believe in violence, but I also understand that violence may happen. So I might... And on this circumstance, neutral. Like, they're giving me too many variables for me to think about it in that way. My religious values should be spread as much as possible. No, because I don't have any. Our nation's values should be spread as much as possible. No. It's very important to maintain law and order. No. The general populace makes poor decisions. Disagree. Possession of institutions should be legal. Yes. The sacrifice of some civil liberties is necessary to protect us from acts of terrorism. No. Government surveillance is necessary in the modern world. No. The very existence of the state is a threat to our liberty. No. Regardless of political opinions, it is important to side with the country. No. All authority should be questioned. Yes. A hierarchical state is best. No. It is important that the government follows the majority opinion, even when it's wrong. Neutral, that depends on the thing. If a majority of Americans say, kill all the N-words, well then, we should not follow that one. The stronger the leadership, the better. No. I'm going to put... Democracy is more than a decision-making process. Sure, yeah. Environmental regulations are essential. Yes. And a better world will come from automation, science, and technology. Yeah. Children should be educated in religious or traditional values. No. Traditions are of no value on their own. Yes. Religion should play a role in the government. No. Churches should be taxed the same way other institutions. Yes. Climate change is currently one of the biggest threats. Yes. It is important that we work as a united world to combat climate change. Yes. Society was better many years ago than it is now. No. It is important that we maintain the traditions of our past. No. It is important that we think in the long term beyond our lifespans. Yes. Reason is more important than maintaining our culture. Yeah. Drug use should be legalized or decriminalized. Yes. Same-sex marriage should be legal. Yes. No cultures are superior to others. Yes. Sex outside of marriage is immoral. No. If we accept migrants at all, it's important that they assimilate to our culture. No. Abortion should be prohibited in most or all cases. No. Gun ownership should be prohibited for those without a valid reason. Sure. I support single-payer universal healthcare. Yes. Prostitution should be illegal. No. Maintaining family values is essential. No. To chase progress at all costs is dangerous. No. Genetic modification is a force for good even on humans. Neutral. We should open our borders to immigration. Yeah. Government should be as concerned to foreigners as they are about our nation. Agree a little bit. All people, regardless of factors like culture or sexuality, should be treated equally. Yes. It is important that we further my group's goals above all others. Neutral. Communist, internationalist, libertarian, revolutionary. Okay, so these are the results that I have. Distributist, for some reason. Libertarian, socialist. Communist, peaceful, liberal, progressive. Communist, internationalist, libertarian, revolutionary. Okay. Is that all the ones that Ghost of Inky made? What's the hexagon test? Dang it! Do I do the hexagon test now? Screw it, I'm already here. Obedience and respect for authority are the most important virtues children should learn. Obedience and respect for authority are the most important virtues that children should learn. No. What this country needs most, more than laws and political programs, is a few courageous, tireless, devoted leaders in whom the people can put their faith. This country needs more than laws and political programs, is a few courageous, tireless, devoted leaders. Neutral. Workers in the most essential parts of the economy should not be allowed to strike. No. That's stupid. They should, of course, be allowed to strike. Especially if they're so important. Then maybe they could actually get some good things done. Prisoners should be forced to work to repay their debts to society. No. At some point, the state will no longer be necessary. No. Ideally, politicians will not exist. Neutral. Private ownership of land is natural and desirable. No. Private investors play an essential role in the economy. Nah. Landlords have an important role. No. Theft can never be justified. No. Inheritance is not a legitimate form of wealth. Yeah. The destruction of property is not violence or comparable to assault. Depends on the property, I guess. Like, is the property a pacemaker? I mean, if you destroy a pacemaker, then that kind of counts as assault. But I mean, at the end of the day, I guess I do agree. Victimless crimes or crimes where the victim is society should not be considered crimes at all. Yeah. Society does not exist, there are only individuals. No. If people wish to sell their organs, they should be permitted to. I mean, if this is sex work talk, then yes. But I mean, if you're at the point where you're selling your organs, like, are you honestly that desperate? Neutral, I guess. Trade between two consenting individuals should never be restricted. Neutral. Some things are too important to be left to market forces. Yes. Economic competition corrodes the fabric of society. Agree to a degree. Individuals should have full control of their work. Yes. Monopolies, state or otherwise, can never be allowed to exist. Kind of. Hierarchy cannot exist without coercion. Yeah. Capitalism and the state are evils which perpetuate one another. To a degree, I guess. Large organizations cannot exist without some form of top-down structure. Not necessarily, no. Worker co-ops are not any better than traditional firms. No. People's basic needs should be provided for free. Yes. People have the potential to be fully altruistic, but our current system makes people selfish. Kind of, but neutral. People are just how they are. A communist society is a desirable end goal. What kind of communist society are you referring to? I mean, you gotta give me more specifics than that. I'll have to put neutral. More laws should be determined by referendums. Yeah. Tyranny of the majority is a legitimate concern. No. Equality of outcome is a dangerous goal to pursue. Not necessarily, no. No, you know what? Nah. The most important parts of the economy should be nationalized. Yeah. The economy needs regulating by government in order to function correctly. Sure. Income tax is necessarily evil if you feel at all. Like, I mean, if you think it's evil, then it's a definitely necessary evil. Education should be state-run to ensure quality education for all children. Yeah. State welfare programs should be replaced by charity or mutual aid. No. The state should play a smaller role in the economy. No. Okay, I'm here. Polcom vowels. Let's see what this quiz is. No, this quiz is stupid. I'm not doing this quiz. So yeah, The Ghost of Inky, I did all of their important quizzes. So, yeah. For those who don't remember, I'm a distributist, even though that's stupid. I'm a libertarian socialist. I'm this. I'm this. And I'm here. Go take the Ghost of Inky's site for yourself and see if you get a quiz result that you like. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to be notified when the future video line comes out. And if you see more content from me, you can go to my website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, check out my articles on independent political report, or consider supporting me on Patreon.